Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I want to be a part of it. New York, New York. Welcome everybody to this week's episode of Government Update with Nate. I am Nate and I'll try to give you all the facts that I can find on politicians and government, and I'll try to give you those facts straight. If you couldn't tell by my serenade at the top of the episode, this week's episode will be on the senior senator from my home state of New York, New York, the man that steals so much camera time they call him the paparazzi politician, the inspiration for our favorite question about how much Chuck could woodchuck Chuck. It is Charles Chuck Schumer! Before I get into his 6 key votes and some statistics around his productivity, I want to give you a little bit of background about how long Chuck has been an elected official. And he's been in office pretty much since forever. He started out serving a lengthy term from 1981 to 1982 in New York's 16th district. Then he moved to the 10th district and served from 1983 to 1992. And then he moved to the 9th district and served from 1993 to 1998, finally landing as the New York State Senator in 1999. Jesus, that was a mouthful, if you know what I mean. Because Chuck has been serving for over 30 years as an elected official, he is the ranking member of a lot of different committees that he sits on in the Senate. One of which he is the chair of that committee, and that is the Rules and Administration Committee in the Senate. The Rules and Administration Committee handles a lot of policies and processes. Man, I'm getting a little sleepy over here. And finally, they handle all of the procedures and the...
Nate, you bored yourself to sleep again.
Huh? What? Let's move on from the boring stuff and get to those sexy numbers. It is time for those statistics. In terms of co-sponsoring bills, Chuck Schumer ranked 3rd highest among Senate committee ranking members and 10th highest among all senators in general because he co-sponsored 257 bills and resolutions that were introduced by other members of Congress. In terms of productivity, Chuck Schumer ranked in the highest 20% of all senators in the congressional session because he introduced 42 bills and resolutions to be debated in committee in year 2015. However, curtailing off that train of thought, Chuck Schumer actually ranked lowest in terms of all senators because he got 0 of his 42 bills out of committee and actually submitted to the floor for further discussion. We are done with the statistics. Now let's move on to 6 key votes of Chuck Schumer's voting record. Are you ready? Because I am. Let's do it. The first key vote is on digital surveillance and information gathering of the U.S. government, and it is on H.R. 2048, or the Uniting and Strengthening America by Fulfilling Rights and Ensuring Effective Discipline Over Monitoring Act of 2015, was legislation that revised the U.S. Patriot Act by terminating bulk collection of metadata of the government and increased transparency of requested surveillance. Schumer voted in favor of this bill along with 42 Democrats, 23 Republicans, and 1 independent to approve this legislation. The second topic is on immigration reform, specifically Senate Bill 2146, or the Stop Sanctuary Policies and Protect Americans Act. This bill proposed withholding federal funding from sanctuary jurisdictions that violate illegal immigration reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act of 1996. In addition, this bill proposed increasing penalties for individuals that re-enter the United States illegally after having been removed a first time, and Chuck Schumer voted nay on this bill along with 45 other senators, which it ultimately passed, but hasn't really gone anywhere since late October of 2015. The third topic is on domestic abuse and women's rights, specifically Senate Bill 47, which was the Violence Against Women Reauthorization Act of 2013. The purpose of this bill was to combat violence against women, from domestic abuse all the way through to human trafficking, which are both terrible things. Chuck Schumer voted in favor of this bill, and it ultimately passed and became a law. The fourth topic is on national defense, specifically national defense spending. This was H.R. 1735, or the National Defense Appropriations Act of 2016, which basically just gave funding to national defense programs for fiscal year 2016. Chuck Schumer was one of 26 senators to vote against this bill, which ultimately passed and became a law. The fifth topic is on federal student loans, specifically Senate Amendment 1778. The limits rates for certain federal student loans look to put a cap on the amount of interest that can be charged to federal student loans, and this cap was around 7-ish%. This bill ultimately did not pass. However, Chuck Schumer, along with 45 other Democrats, voted in favor of this bill. The sixth and final key vote of Chuck Schumer's voting record is on PTO. Wait, what? Paid time off? You heard me right. Senate Amendment 798, or the Deficit Neutral Reserve Fund for legislation to allow Americans to earn paid sick time off, was a bill that appropriated funds to private and public sector jobs so long as it did not increase the national deficit. Chuck Schumer voted in favor of this bill, which ultimately passed and is still waiting for more consideration. All right, my New York brethren, that is all I have for you today on this week's episode of Government Update with Nate. I hope you found this information useful on Chuck Schumer's voting record and that you can take it with you to the voting booth this November. Please remember to like and subscribe and share my videos, and I will see you on next week's episode of Government Update with Nate, where I give it to you straight. Peace.